Hey guys, it's Dave. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a different intro today. I don't know, sometimes I just can't help myself with this foolishness. I start to think that I'm kind of making a name for myself as a serious investor, get some interviews with company executives and that kind of thing. And then the next day, no, I still have to go back to foolishness. But I do like to have a little bit of fun with the channel. So if any of you CEOs or company executives do end up seeing this, I hope you know that it's just all in good fun and not taking things too seriously over here. Bonus points for you if you recognized who each of those CEOs were in that poster, as well as what company they're with. Let me know if you were able to identify them in the comments down below, and that's without Googling, of course. By the way, guys, I am launching a new little merch store for the channel. Very small right now. We have a few t-shirts, hats, sweaters, that kind of thing. Trying not to infringe on any company's, logos or patents or images, but just trying to have a little fun with it and complement those merch stores those companies already have, like a Rocket Lab, as opposed to compete with them. But let me know if you have any ideas for other images that we can put on t-shirts and fun stuff like that. The links for that shop should be down below this video. Okay, so with that out of the way, obviously today we're talking about investing in space companies and how over the first couple years, this first wave of space SPACs, 2020, 2021 timeframe that went public, all absolutely got crushed. Let's take a quick look at that. So yeah, a lot of names you may have found familiar there. Basically, the trend is every space company to go public, or at least pure space company, got absolutely hammered right after going public. It was no fun for anyone investing in the space industry. Just a really depressing time. Let's talk about why I think that's starting to change and the exciting times that I think the future does have in store for us. Before we do that, though, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Every single new subscriber helps out so much with the channel. If you're already subscribed, those thumbs ups and comments help out a lot as well. So, as you saw from the animation that I spent way too much time on, it was a very dark time for space stocks. Everyone who went public got hammered. Companies lost up to 90% of their value. I would say some, even the more fortunate ones, lost at least 50 to 60% of their value, and there really was no bright spot to be found. If you bought any pure space company within a year of going public, you got absolutely destroyed. It was really depressing. A few factors I think played into this. One is we had interest rates rising quickly. Cost of capital going up very quickly means very bad news for space companies that are not yet profitable and require tons of capital to get going. As we all know, space is a very capital intensive business. You got to build out that infrastructure, get things into space before you can start making any money at all. In addition, I do think investors kind of just had pretty much no tolerance for any company that's not profitable after the crash of, I think it was late 2021-ish, where we saw the massive crash from those highs on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. During that time, everyone kind of retreated to companies that had real earnings and real profits. They didn't want to invest in ideas and in the future. In addition to this, I do think there are some companies that came public too early and probably shouldn't be public right now even. I think a company that doesn't have any revenue at all is generally better left for VCs and people of that nature. Personally, I think if you're investing in the public markets, you should see some revenue by the point where you get there. I know a lot of AST folks may have issues with that and debate me on that issue. And I'm not even saying AST is a bad company. I just think the place for these, tech startups that don't have any revenue maybe not the public markets yet. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. All sorts of macro factors causing these stocks to crash. In addition, I think some of the promises made on a few companies were really outrageous and were never really too feasible to begin with. Some others were a little bit more feasible and indeed were achieved, but just the mix of, promises not being achieved, hard to raise additional capital, funds running low, interest rates being high, everyone just fleeing to the safer stocks, really hammered a lot of these companies. Let's take a look at how some of them are doing right now, because I think they've finally started to turn the corner here, and I'm very excited for it. So we saw in that initial little animation I made the stocks getting pounded. Now let's look for the last 3 to 6 months time frame how these companies are doing. Starting with Intuitive Machines, they did have that crazy run up during their IM-1 lander on the moon with Odysseus. Got a ton of press coverage, a lot of people buying the stock. It really spiked massively. So if you enjoyed going from 3 to 11, if you were one of those few people that managed to sell out at the top, congratulations. If you held it, though, you're still seeing pretty healthy returns from those lows, looking at around $2 per share, like $2.40 maybe, now sitting at $3.65. While it's not been a fun run for Intuitive Machines from some of those highs, they at least have had some momentum in the right direction and not just have an all downward slog since that SPAC offering. So perhaps a glimmer of excitement around Intuitive Machines. They'll have another lander relatively shortly going to the moon. I have to imagine if that one lands successfully, there'll be even more excitement. And of course, they're putting together a study for NASA on potentially building a lunar rover. They're one of 3 studies going forward for NASA. If they do happen to get selected, I think that would be absolutely massive for the company. I believe that we're talking like $4+ billion worth of contracts here. So could be good things for Intuitive Machines in the future. And the stock has performed, 50% plus since early 2024. Now, Redwire Corp. They have had an absolutely amazing run. Congratulations to the company on that over the last 3 months or so. I've had my eye on this company for a while now. I made a video previously saying that I was looking to buy it potentially in the back half of 2024, as I felt that was when they were going to be hitting that break-even / profitability, and it got away from me before I got a chance to buy in, unfortunately. I'm trying to decide right now if I can bring myself to buy at a time like this when it's gone from, 3.5 to 5.7. It's really tough to buy at those highs, but that doesn't mean that there's not more room to go. They've had some exciting new announcements around their SaberSats, all sorts of different technologies around their solar panels, and an interesting company to watch with still a relatively low price to sales ratio and kind of getting very close towards profitability, which is something you like to see in a space company. So, exciting times for Redwire Space as well. Rocket Lab, of course, has had a great run, and I've definitely benefited from this one, holding a large portion of shares in Rocket Lab's stock. They've gone from, 3.6-ish range, which I thought was very low for the company, all the way up to today around 5. When I made this chart, they're looking at 4.8, so we're talking like 35+% gains in less than 3 months. Great run for the company, very exciting to see, and just part of the larger trend of some of these pure space companies actually turning things around. Hopefully that 35 will be the all-time low for the company. They've kind of left it far behind at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. Never say never. If there's massive neutron problems or something else down the line, you never know. They could always revisit those lows. Spire Global, another one that had an absolutely crazy run, and what you'll see in a lot of these space companies is insane volatility, which I suppose if you're an option trader could be good or bad if you want to try and capture some of those volatility trades. They spiked around a deal they announced with NVIDIA, the company doing quite well in 2024. They did have a reverse split a while back. This chart is adjusted for that, but Do note that just because it says they're at 9.84, that doesn't mean they're back to where they were when they went public. Still a very solid run from those lows for Spire, as they've kind of performed best in the Earth observation space. Planet still trying to turn things around here. Hopefully they will have hit the bottom very soon. That company, unfortunately, has had to revise earnings estimates downwards several times, which has hurt the stock. Of course, we can't forget AST, Space Mobile, the king of the crop right now, or I guess it's cream of the crop, the saying goes. They have gone from the mid-2s all the way into the 11s. Massive run for the company, and I don't believe they've had any splits, although there has been plenty of dilution, but this is kind of in the same ballpark as when they went public, so congratulations to AST investors on this one. Personally, I think until they have revenue, it's very hard to value the company, and it's really anyone's guess what's going to happen, but they did have several favorable deals announced and partnerships with telecoms and things of that nature. Of course, they're looking to build out a space direct-to-phone constellation, so it will be exciting to see what happens with them. I'm not a shareholder at this point, but yeah, all I can say is hats off to you if you were and you had that conviction. I may get into this one once I see some revenue, but for me, that's just something I gotta see before I consider investing in a company. And I think what this goes into is just finally starting to see the story that we've been told play out, which is the fact that the space economy is set to boom over the next 5+ years. Report here, World Economic Forum, saying the space economy is set to grow to $1.8 trillion, which is pretty massive compared to where it is today. Another report here from McKinsey, a study they did, saying they do expect the compound annual growth rate of the space economy to far outpace nominal GDP, meaning it should be a good place to put your money if you can identify the right companies to do so with. Do note that I think there are a lot of landmines out there in the space industry, and of course SpaceX is not publicly traded, so they're a tough one to invest in, but some of the companies I mentioned today do seem to be starting to take advantage of the growth in the space industry, and their stocks are starting to turn around, so I think it could mean bright things for the future. Yeah, so that's what I have for you today. Exciting times. I think these new space companies, at least some of them, are starting to turn the corner. Others are still looking pretty scary, like a Virgin Galactic and of course Momentous and some others. Yeah, so definitely pick and choose what you're going to put your money in, but I think at least the cream of the crop is starting to separate itself in terms of stock movements, and it's great to see. Let me know if there's any other companies you think I should have covered here that have performed well lately, or what space companies you're buying, what you have your eye on, and what you think the future is going to hold for the space industry down in those comments below. If you did enjoy this video, please do consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.